Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to quite a unique hypnosis session that actually harnesses resource states that most people don't really consider resourceful, and that is repulsion and revulsion. You could also call it disgust. And my belief system is that every single emotion is useful in the right context. And I was working with someone that would really have this kind of feel almost like a moth to a flame. It was a desire to be with someone that was fundamentally toxic and destructive to the quality of life that they wanted. And yet there was still an element of desire to go towards the very thing that caused a lot of pain and distress. And they mentioned in the session that they wanted to feel anger, because if they felt anger, at least they wouldn't feel the kind of the anxiety or the conflict. And I understand why, because anger, it gives a sense of certainty, which is the antidote to anxiety, which is uncertainty. I completely understand why that would be appealing. But anger rarely is a useful emotional state to stay in. It's very useful in moments if rules are violated and it leads to a decision that raises standards. But some people stay in the state of anger because it makes them feel right, even if it's not the healthiest state. And we know that anger creates high levels of cortisol and lots of the stress hormones. So not ideal to stay in a state of anger. But disgust, repulsion, revulsion generally has the purpose to make people get away from certain things. So if you think of a skunk, for example, a skunk will have a spray to repel let's say, predators that might want to harm the skunk. And it works. That stench then is so disgusting that anything that was chasing the skunk wants to get away. So we can see, even in nature, repulsion and revulsion and disgust have their functions. This hypnosis session harnesses the essence of disgust by tapping into certain smells and visual and auditory triggers that the client themselves considered undesirable or a repellent, and then linked to the memory of someone from the past that they wanted to no longer feel an attraction to. This is quite a unique session. Some of the references to kind of rotting flesh and maggots and horrible smells, is meant to be emotive because it's designed to create revulsion. If you don't like the idea of that, maybe this is a good session to skip. But if you do want to harness those kind of emotions, all I would do to get the most out of this session is recommend that you think of someone or something that you're drawn towards that you know is not healthy or beneficial for you. And if you can link disgust or let's say a repulsion to that thing or person, then it enables you to make much more intelligent choices. If you feel that you are struggling with certain areas of your life and you feel like hypnosis may help, there will be a link in the show notes where you can schedule a free consultation call to explore working with me. But you might find that this session is actually quite helpful, particularly if you're doing things from a lack of worthiness or a need for validation. That's one of the reasons that people do things that seem counterintuitive. So find a quiet, comfortable place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in. As you breathe in a calm, resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow any feelings of worry, stress, tension, feel like it's leaving your body in your outward breath. As you breathe in, notice where tension exists, perhaps in your face, your jaw, your neck or your shoulders. Feel that tension melt away. Feel it leaving your body. And as it does so, notice that you're drifting into a wonderful feeling of calm and relaxation. Breathing in and breathing out. I want you to imagine the resource that you're breathing in isn't just relaxation, it's worthiness. Breathe in a feeling of worthiness, and as you exhale, any feelings of scarcity, insignificance, any feelings of criticism, feel it leave your body. So you're becoming more and more worthy with each and every breath, enabling you to drift into a place where change happens. Some people will call that relaxation. Some people will call it imagination. And others, hypnosis. Allow yourself to go to that place, a place of profound, empowering change. Breathing in and breathing out. I want you to imagine there is a chamber of healing. Allow your imagination to construct what that could look like. It could be a cabin made of wood, a cave made of rock, a futuristic capsule. Whatever your imagination creates for this place of intense healing is exactly as it should be. I want you to imagine walking into this place, this incredible capsule, cabin, or cave of healing. Allow the temperature to be the optimal temperature for healing. Allow the humidity to be just right. Imagine the lights and sounds to be conducive to deep healing. And I want you to imagine that you are healing a very specific childhood wound. I want you to imagine that the consequence of being starved of recognition, love, approval, validation may lead someone to pursue that with a ferocious hunger. But I also wonder if that child that was deprived of something they needed if they could create healing at that time by figuring out they didn't need it, they just wanted it. I want you to think back there in that chamber of healing, some childhood memories where the things you needed were withheld. And as you think about those memories, you realize it did give you something, maybe motivation, maybe drive, maybe independence, maybe resilience and thick skin. But I also want you to consider that you never needed it, you just wanted it. So as you look back on those memories, I want you to imagine seeing a child that realized they can create that same thing internally. Imagine a child that didn't get those hugs or words of "I love you," filled with self-love, a deep self-regard and self-respect. Imagine a child that wanted the love and recognition of their parents, but being so full of self-love, self-respect, and self-validation, exuding worthiness, that they didn't really need it from anyone else. I want you to see that that child had an emotional suit of armor. By being filled with such worthiness, they couldn't be manipulated or controlled, coerced, because what they were being manipulated by, they already had in abundance. If people are starving, they would kill someone for food. But someone with an abundance of food would never compromise their values. I want you to imagine a childhood where you had such abundance of worthiness. It was almost humorous to you, the withholding of affection, in the same way that if you were a child with endless amounts of food, you wouldn't care too much if you weren't given enough food at meal times. See that version of you going into adolescence, adulthood, brimming with worthiness. Every now and then seeing that there's certain key decisions that when you had worthiness are like a fork in the road. You would have gone one way instead of another. You didn't need to chase it because you had it within you. I want you to imagine a recent relationship, but imagine that recent relationship where you were filled with a feeling of worthiness, no fear of abandonment, no fear of loss. See a self-assured, confident version of you brimming with worthiness, sky-high levels of self-esteem. See yourself with a viewpoint that anyone not meeting your standards is no longer worth your time. And I want you to see memories where you were being treated badly, unfairly, unkind, without compassion, maybe betrayed or disrespected or lied to. And I want you to imagine being back in your body, re-experiencing that. But we're going to add new sensations to ensure that at a neurological level, you associate those behaviors as repulsive. So I want you to recall a moment of unkindness, a time when you were being treated mean. And at the very time where they're treating you mean, I want you to imagine that their breath smells of sulfur and sewage, rotting meat and rotting eggs. Maybe they're shouting, screaming, but you can't get away from this stench of disgusting, horrible smells coming from their mouth. Yes, they're being mean, unkind, but you're associating that to a vile smell. And imagine that going up through your nostrils, creating an incredible sense of repulsion and disgust. Imagine looking at their face while they're saying those mean, unkind words, smelling the stench from their breath. And as you smell that smell of rotting meat, you could almost imagine what it would be like if they were a zombie version of themselves. Flesh rotting, maggots feeding on their body. Smell the stench, see the disgust, create a feeling of repulsion. You can't wait to get away. And then imagine as they start talking, it sounds like screeching, like a high-pitched smoke alarm. The sounds, the smell, the visuals create this feeling that you can't wait to get away. And if you can feel that while simultaneously seeing the memory as it was and reminding yourself that this is a good sign to get away, let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Now let's go to a memory of deceit. You were being lied to, and you know it. Remember where you were at the time. Feel that you're back in your body, hearing the lies. Maybe the lies were being told to you face to face. Go back to that moment, and as you hear the lies smell like sewage. Imagine human feces. The stench coming from their words going up your nose, creating such an intense feeling of revulsion and repulsion. Your instinct is to get away. And maybe the lies represent a sign that this is a dead relationship. So as you hear the lies, smell the stench of death. Maybe you can recall seeing a dead animal as a child and smell the intense stench of death. The words almost seem to grate on you like fingernails on a chalkboard. There is something screaming in the tonality. The words are screaming at you. You don't need this. You are too good for this. You don't need to allow this. And if your intuition is telling you this isn't a reason to fight for approval or validation or to hear your point, it's a clue to get away. Nobody spends time trying to argue with a smoke alarm or a fire alarm. They treat it as a sound to move away. And if your unconscious now feels that you are able to see these things for what they really are, alarm bells to move away from, let me know by nodding your head. I want you to go to a memory where there was a smiling face, happiness, excitement. But see that this, much like your past, had strings attached, conditions applied. There is a fine line between genuine connection and manipulation. And normally the difference is conditions. So as you feel you're in that situation, that there is conditional love or affection, I want you to imagine seeing that smiling face. But again, smell the stench of disgusting smells coming from that smiling face. Perhaps it's rotting flesh, perhaps vomit, perhaps a food that you really don't like. Just imagine those smells really leaving that smiling face, going up your nose, giving you a sense that this isn't what it seemed. This isn't you winning. This is manipulation. Conditions. If you do this, then I will do that. And as you see it through that lens, feel that same intense revulsion and repulsion, feeling a need to get away. And imagine doing that. Perhaps right at the beginning, deciding the best thing you can do is to leave and feel the good feelings as you leave. That by leaving, it is evidence of your worthiness. At the negotiating table, it is the willingness to walk away that provides the bargaining position. Feel that you are too worthy to be in a relationship based on deceit, betrayal, conditions, and cruelty. And as you leave it, feel a wave of relief. Notice the anxiety fading away there in your gut. Go to one more memory, perhaps cuddling on a couch. But while you're cuddling on the couch, recall the times of cruel words, mean things, lack of understanding, hypocrisy. Recall all of the reasons why even this moment is now tainted. True worthiness is feeling you deserve better and acting in accordance with that. Smell the horrible smells, imagine the disgusting things. Perhaps you can imagine seeing someone on that couch covered in vomit, covered in disgusting things, feeling a desire to get away, to clean yourself. And what if you were able to leave to heal yourself, to clean yourself, to start afresh, much wiser than you ever were before. What if the anxiety in your gut isn't the fear of loss or abandonment, but the fear you may walk back into the rat's nest? If a fly narrowly escapes a web, wouldn't it have anxiety that it might go back to the same web it just escaped from? As you feel that new perceptions create new decisions, you can feel that it all comes from a place of healing. So feel that you're back in that healing chamber, that all this time, old childhood wounds have been healing. The lack of affection and validation wasn't your wound, it was the wound of someone else. I want you to feel that the wounds are still continuing to heal. And the evidence of the healing is in feelings of worthiness. And the first clue to worthiness is feeling that you deserve good things. You deserve better. And as you feel that you deserve better, your decisions will align with that new belief. As you leave the healing chamber, know that you can go back there whenever you choose. But notice how that when you think of that previous relationship, attraction has changed to repulsion. And there is a feeling of relief that you escaped a perilous trap, able to find something that truly connects with what you really deserve. As you breathe in and breathe out, feel like you're returning to the present. As you take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect fully with the present moment as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. But just before I arrive at 10, I want you to imagine what the next few days, weeks and months would be like as someone that starts to notice more and more worthiness. They don't need the opinions of someone that has already lied to them. They can't trust what is said anyway. True worthiness is protecting what is valuable. So notice that over the next few days and weeks, you establish boundaries and barriers to keep you safe, to protect what is truly worthy. Your peace of mind, your emotions, your sanity. And as you see that future, know you're halfway there to living it, starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.